Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and I'm coming to you today on a Friday night. It is my last Friday in LA as a resident. I am currently in the transition of moving from LA to Texas, and it's such a huge transitional point in my life for me right now. So I'm trying to set the precedent here because I've put together a pretty good podcast for today, sharing a lot of the lessons that I've learned since living here and all the things that I've personally been through. But I kind of want to give you guys a picture of where I'm at right now. My room is filled with boxes. Things are everywhere. I'm trying to move. I'm still running my business. I'm trying to get these last minute podcasts in. My dad went in for surgery this morning, totally routine surgery, but he's my dad, so I worry. It went great. He's doing great, but there's just a lot of things going on right now. So I'm coming to you guys today, just feeling a little bit everywhere, but feeling really I think there's so many emotions happening. So I kind of wanted to set the precedent because if I get emotional in this podcast, that is why. The last 7 years of my life have been incredible. There's been a lot of hard moments, but there's been so many beautiful moments. There was this one moment that I knew that I wanted to live in California, and I would say it was the second time that I visited. So the first time I visited was in high school, and then the second time that I visited was when I'd already started competing, and I came out here for a show, and I was just mesmerized by the beauty of the nature of California, the ocean and the mountains and the palm trees. I'm obsessed with palm trees. And it was so beautiful. It's I just felt called to live here. And I told myself, I was I have to live here one day. And it's crazy because it was only not even a year later that I ended up moving here. So I've spent the last 7 years of my life here. And throughout this podcast episode, I want to take some time to reflect on all the good and the hard moments and the different things that I've learned from that. Before we get in, I kind of want to give you guys some really quick takeaways. I asked for some questions on my Instagram, and a few of you guys wrote in and had some really good questions. So I'm going to do kind of a speed round, quickly answering those, and then go into today's show. I did have some time to really sit down and think about this. So I have a lot written out. I doubt I'll get to everything, but I'm sure whatever will come out, I'm sure will be great. So, okay, the first question is, how did you find friends in LA? No matter where you are, it is up to you to create the community and the friendships that you're looking for. I think sometimes people, they say, oh, there's no good people here. But I really do believe that there's good people everywhere. You just have to find them. And you first have to be that friend that you're looking for in order to attract that to you. You have to imagine the world, the universe, as being a magnet. Whatever you put out is what you're going to attract. So if you're being that really good friend and you keep knocking down all the right doors, you're going to find good friends. In a realistic sense, put yourself in environments where you would find other people that share similar interests and hobbies as you. For me, the gym is the easiest place. I know for a fact, anyone that I meet at the gym, we're going to at least have that common ground. So, whatever it is that you like doing, I know in this day and age with things being shut down, depending on what city you live in, that may be a little more difficult. But look online and try to figure out where people that are like you would also be spending their time online. So if you're really into nature, look at nature pages. Look at the people that are posting nature photos, connect with them. There's so many ways that you can do that. So I would say just put yourself out there. If you can't do it in a physical sense, do it online. There's so many different ways to meet people these days. So I personally found a lot of mine actually just both on Instagram, on YouTube, and in the gym. Those were definitely the biggest places that I met people. And then just naturally, I would say pretty much the gym. I just have gym friends, and that's okay. I really like the gym. Let's see. What is something, things, or people that you'll miss from LA? I am definitely not going to start naming names because then I'll feel guilty for my friends that I don't mention or that slip my mind for a second. But number one, I'm going to miss the ocean, the mountains, and the palm trees. I'm going to miss the nature. That was one of the first things that brought me here. And I truly will miss that so much. I'll definitely come back and visit. As far as people, I'm going to miss all of my great friends that I've met here, whether we were great friends or just gym buddies or whatever it was. I genuinely want to express gratitude for every single person who I came across in my journey here in LA, whether it was in the starting point of me being out in Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks. I almost forget that point in my life. And then I have people comment on Instagram being like, hey, I used to see you at the 24-hour in Simi Valley. So whether it was one of you guys or it's someone that's a regular at Gold's Gym or one of my best friends, like I really do appreciate any small part that you had in my journey here, because this truly was like one of the most beautiful seasons of my life. And it's crazy to me that it's coming to a close, but I feel so complete and I feel so sure about like the next steps that I'm taking. So I really did just want to take that time and say thank you guys so much for every single thing. I really appreciate you guys. But I do have to mention one person. I just have to. Doug, my trainer, I'm going to miss him so much. We were training 5 times a week at one point, and now we train as much as we can. I've been trying to get those last minute training sessions in with him. But he and I built a really great friendship and a really great trainer and trainee working relationship. And we work so well together, and bodybuilding is something that's such a huge passion of mine. I love it so much. And so to be able to share that with somebody and be able to produce the results that we produce, I think is something really special. So him and I have already talked. He's going to come to Texas. We'll let you guys know when, because we're definitely going to be doing some things together, but that's something I'm really going to miss. And there's no replacing Doug. That's for sure. Let's see. Would you ever live in a different part of California? Yeah, I'm totally down to reconsider it. I'm down to, consider living in California in the future. Just like when people would ask me when I was super happy in California, would you ever move back to Texas? I knew better than to ever say, no, I would never do that, even though I had no desire to. And I would tell them, like, I have no desire to move back to Texas, but if that's where my life takes me, then I'm so open to it. And now look at where I'm at. I cannot wait to get to Texas. It's Friday and I leave on Tuesday. And honestly, if everything was done, I would leave tonight. I love LA, but my heart's moved on already. And so I'm really ready to be there. And that's why I've really learned in my life to never say never, to never try to predict my life, and to never put even myself in a box, because you never know what life has for you. And if you keep yourself in that box, you're going to miss all the beautiful things that life might have for you. I am going to have such a beautiful life in Texas. I can't wait to start sharing it with you guys. My home that I have there is going to be incredible. I could not even express my gratitude for it. And I have such a beautiful life waiting for me there. And if I had put myself in a box and said, I'll never move back there, I'm not open to it, would I be going to live this beautiful life? I don't know. So that's definitely my advice, is don't put yourself in a box. Goals this year and what that looks like for you. Goals this year is to really go fully into my podcast. I'm building a podcast studio in my house, which I will share with you guys as soon as it's ready. So really just operating fully in everything that I've worked so hard for. California was such an important time for me because it was an insane amount of personal growth and development that I did on myself. And within that, I became a YouTuber. I became a podcast host. I became an IFBB pro. I achieved all of these things, and I built all of these things. And now that I have that foundation, I'm going to go back and I'm going to execute on everything that I've always wanted to do, things that I'm already doing now, but I'll be able to do it at a different capacity. So my goal with, that is my YouTube and my podcast is to do a lot more collaborations, bring some incredible guests to you guys, and do it just on a different level than I'm able to do here. With my competing goals, my goal, as I've said on my YouTube videos, my goal is to be an Olympian athlete. And I do believe that this year I will achieve that. I really feel like before you achieve this massive goal or dream that you have for yourself, you have to fully believe that you can do it. And I've always believed in myself, but I think there's a next step. I think after believing in yourself, you have to literally make a decision that it is going to happen. That come hell or high water, you're going to do every single thing in your power to make it happen. And then from there, we all know that you have to just let go of the results. You let go of, you have that mentality of whatever happens, happens, as long as I did everything that I know I can do. So with that said, being an Olympian athlete, you are, having this goal of being one of the best athletes in the entire world. That requires everything. It requires 110% of everything that you have every single day. So my entire life is going to be focused on around that. And here's the thing, bodybuilding is a sport that requires absolutely everything from you. And I fully know what I'm signing up for. I have zero expectations in the sense that I know that when I go and I do that first show, that I could get lost call out. I know that I'm going to prepare for first place. but it's one of those sports where you have to be able to take the hits. You have to be able to take the third call out, the fourth call out, the second call out, the third place, the second place. It's a climb. It's a journey. It is so challenging. It is so difficult. It's not something that you usually just get one and done. And, I'm glad for that, because it makes it, you have so much more appreciation when you've had to work your ass off for every single thing that you've had. And honestly, that's been my entire life. So that's normal to me. It's what I was made for. So my goal this year is to be an Olympian athlete, and I do believe that I can achieve it. I do believe I will achieve it. And if I don't, I will fully accept that, and I will come back and I will be better. And next year I will do it. So those are my goals for this year. Someone asked, how did you evolve through your own podcasts? One, you could go back and listen to every single podcast, because maybe you learned something from them. But I think just from hearing me speak in my delivery, hearing me speak in the real things that I go through, because you guys know, I'm not up here just spewing some bullshit at you guys. I share my real life. I share the hard things that I go through. I share my heartbreak, my loss. I share every single thing. So by watching that, you guys will be able to see my growth. In a realistic sense, I think for me doing the podcast, one, I've stayed very committed to it. It's something that I have missed very few episodes. I think there was one time in December where I took a week or two off, and another time where I took a few weeks off. But besides that, I do not miss shows. I've stayed so consistent with it. And for me, it's really given me this practice and this commitment of showing up no matter what. I've shown up after losing a best friend. I've shown up being completely heartbroken. I've shown up in those hardest moments. And what that does for you is it allows you the opportunity to practice showing up no matter what. And no matter what you're going after in life, if you can do that, you're the one that wins. You're the one that wins at the end, because anyone can show up when they feel good. Anyone can show up when they feel motivated, or they feel positive, or everyone's around them cheering them on. But who's going to show up when no one's looking, no one's around, they're heartbroken, they're confused, they're going through difficult moments in life? Anyone around them would give them a free ticket out. They would give them a free ticket to say, yeah, just don't show up today. So what I've done is I've really cultivated a way of showing up for myself no matter what goes on. And I think it's really developed me as a person, because as I share these things with you guys, it gives me another way to think about the things that I've gone through, because it is my life goal to always and forever evolve. I will always grow into a better version of myself. And part of that is accepting who you are now. So it's given me this ability to accept my own faults and my failures, my screw ups, my mess ups, my good things as well, my good attributes, but to always have that goal of getting better. So I feel like it's given me a lot of purpose in life. The responses that I've gotten from you guys has been absolutely insane. It's actually crazy, the DMs that you guys send me, and that forever will drive me. That forever will have me putting out these podcasts, because I know 100% that I actually could stop today and my podcast will have made a drastic difference in people's lives. And that's my goal. I'm not here to try and be cool for you guys. I'm not here to put on a show. I'm not here to put on a facade. I don't have the biggest following. I'm not the coolest person, but I help people create change in their life. I help be that catalyst for people. And I feel honored to be able to do that, because I know what it's like to go through difficult times. I know what it's like to have a hard life, or to be unhappy with where you're at, or to have this feeling inside like there's something more. You guys have to realize the only way that I'm able to sit here and share with you guys how to evolve in life is because I've walked through it, is because I've went through it in my own life. I quite literally grew up online. Go back and watch my YouTube videos. Go back and watch my first YouTube videos. Sometimes I'll click on an old video and part of me wants to cringe, but I have that very big acceptance attitude where I'm just that's where I was at in life, and I'm going to accept myself for it. But and here's the other thing, part of it's kind of cute, right? I'm just so young and so immature, and I have so many things to work on and work through. And it's cool going back and watching that, because I see my own personal growth. And so I think if you guys ever get discouraged, or if you ever have the tendency to put me on a pedestal, number one, do not. I am shoulder to shoulder with you. There are some things that I've walked through and that I can speak on, but it's only because I've done the work myself. So if you ever need that reminder, go back and watch my old YouTube videos. They're slightly embarrassing, but I don't know, maybe it'll make you feel better. How have you felt the decline of California as a citizen / have you felt that? Yeah, Definitely. As a single woman living in LA, I've definitely noticed the shift and the change. And it's crazy because I really have been so happy here for so long. And it definitely was going to take something very drastic in order to get me to move. Like, in order to get me to move from California, there had to be something like, a worldwide pandemic and all the bullshit of 2020 and now 2021 going on to make me go, I can't do this anymore. And that's definitely where I'm at, but I don't see it as a negative thing. I see it as it directing me in where I'm supposed to go. My entire family's in Texas. They're all into fitness. My dad, everyone's into like personal development. And I've always known that we were meant to work together. And I don't think it's by accident that I've spent all this time working so hard, building all these businesses. And now I have this opportunity to go back and be able to have these working relationships with my family, the people that I love the most, the people that I want to work with and provide for, and be able to help them create incredible lives for themselves as well. So I think that it took this in order for me to recognize that it was time to go home. And now it's time to do that. And I'm excited for that journey and what that's going to look like. Someone asked, how do you keep safe in California with the crime rise? Stay strapped or get clapped, honestly, with something, anything. And on a real note, no matter what city you're in, I really believe that women especially, but everyone should really take personal responsibility over their own safety. So it doesn't matter what you have on you. If you have your LTC, or if you have something like a pepper spray or a knife or something, I think having that on you is better than nothing. And I think being prepared is so much better than just hoping that nothing happens to you. I just saw on the news, it was actually, I landed in LA from traveling, and this lady looked at me and Vinny, my Frenchie, and she said, oh my gosh, did you hear about the lady on the news who she got beat up and they stole her Frenchie? And the lady's face, I ended up seeing it on Instagram later, and her face was completely broken in. They stole her Frenchie. Her name was Chloe. They still have not found her. And it was like such a heartbreaking thing. And, it just goes to show you that like there are evil people out there. And I think some people don't have that realization. They don't understand that evil exists. It's not being paranoid that, oh, something's going to happen to me. No, they're plain and simple. There are evil people out there who have horrible intentions, who have no morality. They have no right or wrong, and they will do things that are absolutely unthinkable. So I think it really is your personal responsibility to stay informed, stay prepared, stay safe, equip yourself, take a safety or a self-defense class, not from a point of being paranoid, but from a point of just wanting to be as prepared as possible, so that come that situation, it's not the first time you've encountered something like that. Taking a safety or a self-defense course was definitely one of the best things that I did. And I keep looking for more training because it's actually pretty fun to me. I really enjoy that. And I'm also a protector at heart. There's been quite a few instances where I've been with friends or family or whatever, and I instinctively will protect no matter what. So for me, I'm like, I'd rather be trained in knowing what I'm doing. Last question before we get on to the rest of the episode: how to pivot when someone calls you out on your shit. I think number one, having the awareness to admit your shit. So admit your shit, accept your shit, and then create action steps to step out of your shit. Unless you want to sit in shit, then that's your own problem. It's your choice. It's actually not a problem. It's your choice. Like I always say, life is always a series of choices. So, if someone calls you out on it and you don't like it and it feels uncomfortable, good. That uncomfortable spot will cause you to create change. Or then from that point on, you can take personal responsibility to say, no, I accept this shit in my life because I refuse to change. And then it becomes your decision to make. So those are the quick questions I wanted to get to. Thank you guys for interacting. If I ever have, questions or need your input, I always go to my Instagram story. So make sure to follow me there. I also wanted to mention, I started posting on YouTube my vlogs again. I hadn't done vlogs in quite a while. So I'm doing at least weekly vlogs for right now. That will kick up as I go hardcore into my prep for my first show of the season. So definitely stay tuned there. Make sure that you're subscribed. If you're watching this, press subscribe right now. Press thumbs up on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what was the best tip from this episode. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to have a sip of water because I'm thirsty. All right. So as I was preparing for this podcast, I was like, I know exactly what I'll talk about, and I wrote out this cute little list of things. And then as I was writing some notes, it started going down a different direction that I completely just didn't even plan on. But I think it's actually time to talk about it. So I'm going to briefly talk about this before I get into I would say about 10 things that I've learned while living in California, which truthfully is just, 10 things that I've learned over the last 7 years in no particular order. Just things that I felt I really wanted to share with you. So like I've mentioned before, it's been one of the most incredible seasons of my life. I've built everything that I have now here in California. I remember when I was driving from Texas to California to move here, I was nervous. There was a lot of people that didn't believe in me. There's all these haters and naysayers. And on the drive to California, I get a call, and it's the magazine editor from one of the magazines that I'd hoped to be in. And they said, "Hey, could you be in LA on Monday? We want to publish you in your favorite magazine." And I was like, "That's interesting. I'm literally driving to LA right now, and I will be there on Monday." And it worked out. And so for me, that was it was one of those little signs, I guess you would say, for me, that was hey, you're on the right track. And for me, I've really noticed that God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, there's always those little signs available to you if you'll just have your awareness open to it. Even now, as I'm moving to Texas, there are some things that happened where I was looking to get this house, and basically unexpected income came in that was the exact amount for the house and for moving. Completely unexpected, and it was actually unnecessary, but it just it really showed to me yes, that house. And it was really awesome. So I feel just take note of those little things in life that are giving you the little nudges of hey, yes, go in that direction. So I've been published in magazines. I became an IFBB pro, became a YouTuber, a podcaster, a coach to thousands of men and women online. I trained at Gold's Gym Venice as my home gym. My friends are literally the best bodybuilders in the world. It's kind of awesome. I've created an awesome community, awesome friendships. And so it truly has been such an amazing time. But as a lot of you guys know, especially if you're an OG subscriber, it was also one of the hardest seasons of my life too, because I went through some really difficult times. Behind the scenes, it was something that I was suffering with pretty silently, but my relationship at that time was struggling big time, and we were married, and ultimately it led to divorce, which is something that I never thought I would experience in my life, especially going into that relationship. We were the ones that were going to make it. And so that was one of the biggest failures I've ever experienced in my life. That truly, it broke me in a way where I don't think I could be broken again the same. I think that happens once in your life. And so now, unfortunately, I can relate to about 50% of marriages out there. And when I say 50% of marriages, it's a lot of people. And when you consider the fact that a marriage is two people, there's a lot of people watching right now that know exactly what I'm talking about. And just some words of advice to people who may not know what I'm talking about, the people that haven't been through divorce. I just want you to know this is one of the most painful things that a human being has to experience, most likely. It is their biggest failure. It is their biggest heartbreak and their biggest loss. It literally feels like a death. So practice some caution, some empathy when talking about it. Divorce is a commonly used word, and I feel like it's thrown around so easily that people they don't have any sensitivity to it. And I think that we could do a better job of just being sensitive to people and what they're going through. I've seen some really ignorant things, like people tagging people in photos or in Facebook memories when they have split from that person. And it's why would you share that memory when you know that they're not together? That's a big no. So just a little side note there. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who have experienced this who are saying amen right now, because it's hard. And I think that we need to be conscious of that for other people. There's a few things that I learned from going through divorce myself. One of the first things is that relationships need support. Don't be isolated. Don't go through your shit alone. Most people were not taught how to build successful, long-lasting relationships. So when things get hard, keep reaching out for help and keep reaching out until you find something that works. The truth is, some people will evolve together and some people will evolve separately. And some people actually choose not to grow at all. So my advice would be try to find somebody that will choose to evolve with you and have that conversation. Like if you're in a relationship right now, talk about it openly and say like, hey, like I want to be a better version of myself, which means I'm always going to grow. I'm always going to develop into that next best version. I want that for both of us. I think a relationship should cultivate a really safe place for two individuals to become the best versions of themselves and to not lose themselves in that relationship and lose themselves to the other person. Sometimes there will be one really strong person and a person that maybe isn't less strong, but maybe they're just more, I guess, moldable by the other person. And sometimes they can fall into the other person's life completely, not having a life for themselves, not having purpose, not having drive, not having vision for themselves and for their own lives. At the end of the day, we're all individuals. We are all souls having this human experience. So yes, when you're married, you become a unit, you become a team, but we also have to maintain that individuality. We have to maintain that purpose, that drive, that passion, that excitement in our own hearts. And if we don't have that for ourselves, if we feel like we don't have our own life's path, I think that's where it can become really unhealthy, really out of balance, and it can create issues that maybe never needed to happen. So really prioritize the individual's growth. I think something we could do is just be really accepting and really open to your partner wanting to grow and explore and develop and change over time. I think it's such a beautiful thing as people grow and develop and they come into new hobbies, new passions. And I think that it's up to us to be able to cultivate that safe space for them. Another thing I learned is that it takes two to tango. Something very wise that someone told me was, if you're going through something really difficult, especially in marriage, if you have two willing parties, two people that are willing to work for it, that you do not quit on that ever. Never. End of story. However, if you have one person that is aligning their thoughts, their actions, and their words, and they're really seeking to create change and they're really working for it, and then you have one person who says all of the right things, but their actions don't match that. Their actions are not choosing that. And they have quite literally given up on themselves and on you, that you're not stuck in that for forever just because you signed a piece of paper. You're not stuck in that for forever just because you said that would never happen to you. So if you have two people willing to work and the love is there, you do not quit on that. Resentment. Do not let it build even for one day. Resentment it's one of the hardest things to come back from. And oftentimes resentment comes from leaving things left unsaid. So maybe it's not a huge issue that you care to really dig deep into, but kind of ask yourself, like do a little check-in every week. Like, do I have anything that's left unsaid about my partner? Or am I talking to my friends about issues with my partner and I'm not talking to them about it? So resentment, if you let that build, that's something that's just really hard to come back from. So do your best to address issues right as they happen or right after they happen. Admit that it's causing resentment. Tell your partner you don't want to feel resentment and then work through that. Be quick to forgive. And forgive fully, not a resentful forgiving, not a, side shade forgiving, but like fully forgive and don't bring those things back up. Practice forgiveness as often as you can. Assume the best in your partner. So ask yourself, do you catch yourself always assuming the worst, always assuming like, oh, they don't want this, or they don't love me, or, all these stories that we have in our heads. Is that just something that you're telling yourself, or is it something that they have verbalized to you? So instead, you always have that option. Like, I could assume the worst. And if so, like what thoughts and what things are you manifesting in that relationship? Or you could choose to assume the best. And when you assume the best, you start looking for the best. Don't forget, you're a magnet. Whatever you're putting out there, you're going to create. So if you're putting out these negative emotions towards your partner, it's not too uncommon that you're going to get those negative emotions back. If you're unhappy with where you're at, ask yourself, have I had the conversation? Have I addressed the issue? Have I created a plan to create change? And then tell yourself and encourage your partner that you guys can work on this together. Like, create an action plan together for this. And here's the thing, when you have communication, You cannot leave things left unsaid. You cannot have those feelings, those emotions that you don't bring up. Like, your partner should be that number one person in your life, that best friend that you can tell anything to. If you have a problem communicating, that's okay. A lot of people have problems communicating, but you have to find a way to communicate. Maybe for you, you write a letter and you read it to them. Maybe you go alone and you record a voice memo of everything you really want to say, and then you go up to them and you play it. You might want to record it twice and get the emotion and anger out first, and then do a second one. You may need to hire a relationship coach or hire counseling to help you work through and process the emotions that you're feeling. Maybe you don't know how to communicate what it is that you feel. Like I said, a lot of people were not taught communication, and they weren't taught how to handle their emotions. So they don't know how to handle their emotions, and they think that everything's out to get them. Everyone's out to get them, and the world's out to get them, and everything always happens to them. And they have this victim mentality. The truth is, you may just not know how to process what you're feeling yet. Like, work on these things. I'm talking about this because how often do we scroll past on Instagram and do people tell you, hey, are you working on your emotional availability? Are you working on your emotional capacity? Like, these are things that we should work on if we want to cultivate happy, good friendships, relationships. A lot of this can be used in family sense, in friendships, not just relationships as well. Do not take things personally. Happy, free, purposeful, driven people usually don't act out in their relationship. So when you notice that your partner is acting out, why don't you take a step back, take yourself out of it, tell yourself, this is probably not fully about me. This might have to do something about them. It's kind of like the typical, like, if there's a girl that feels really insecure and all of a sudden she's like short and snappy with her boyfriend. And the truth is, she's been eating like crap and she hasn't been taking care of herself, and she hasn't put on makeup in 3 weeks, so she doesn't feel like her best, and if she were just to practice some self-care, she would have, girls, okay, especially girls watching, when you like get your hair is freshly done, you have your nails done, you have your makeup done, and you just like feel some type of way, you're in that kind of mood, your energy is totally different than when you're, haven't put on makeup in weeks, haven't really been to the gym, haven't been active, eating like crap all the time. Your energy is completely different. So take responsibility over that. Take responsibility over it. And also be careful not to take things personally when usually how people treat you is more of a reflection of them. Let's see. Okay, so gratitude, affirmations, and positive self-talk. These are all things that we do for ourselves, but what about in the context of a relationship? Do you do that for your significant other? Do you express gratitude for the things that they do? Sure, there's probably a lot that they're not doing. There's probably a lot that they can improve on. But if you just sit there and nag on these things and harp and focus on them, how is that going to make them feel? They're going to feel like crap all the time. Why don't you address those things, tell them exactly what you're looking for, exactly what you want, and then why don't you try just for 7 days not to say one negative thing about them, and not even to mention the things that they're still forgetting to do, but why don't you actually try to overflow them with gratitude, overflow them with positive affirmations. And I don't mean bullshit. Do not bullshit anyone. Number one, they'll read through it. Number two, it doesn't actually create change. It doesn't actually help. It actually feels worse. True gratitude, true affirmations, what they're actually doing well. Name those things and see what kind of effect that has on your relationship. This is a huge one. Ask yourself constantly, what seeds am I watering with my thoughts, my words, and my actions? Are your thoughts watering the relationship with love, kindness, forgiveness, patience, self-control? Or are your thoughts, words, and actions watering the relationship with bitterness, resentment, anger, impatience, annoyance, frustration? Ask yourself, if you're always operating in those emotions and in those things, just know that that's the harvest that you're going to get. The harvest is always guaranteed. You're always planting seeds. Every day you're planting seeds in your life, in your relationship, in your business. So really bring your awareness to ask yourself, which seeds am I planting? And is that the harvest that I want? And if it's not, you need to change the seeds that you're planting, which sometimes means putting your ego aside, putting your pride aside, swallowing your pride and holding what you want to say in, and instead responding with kindness, responding with love, being the bigger person, saying sorry first, forgiving quickly. All of these things are so difficult, you guys. They're not easy to actually do, but allow yourself to practice them and be intentional about practicing them. For those of you that are going through a breakup or are going through something like divorce, you are not broken. You are not a failure just because you had a failed attempt at something. It's something that no one ever plans to go through. So of course you didn't mean to go through it. You didn't plan to go through it. But even with that, you are still so deserving of love. And you first need to focus on yourself and focusing on loving yourself and creating a commitment to yourself, to honor yourself, to love yourself, to trust yourself. Because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself first and foremost, how can you be your best for somebody else? So focus on doing that for yourself. I want to share a Instagram caption that I actually made today, and it was on pain. And I've been lucky enough to go through a lot of pain in my life, and I've learned to love pain because pain drives me like no other. And I said, pain is my friend. It never feels good experiencing it, but I know I was made for it. Pain drives me harder than anything in the world. Pain is why I'm going to achieve everything that I set my mind to. Pain is how I will one day bless others. Pain is how I will create a way out for others. Knowing that, I don't resist the pain anymore. I take it. It fucking hurts, but I'll take it because I know what it's doing inside of me and I know what it's going to produce in the world around me. I can take it. That's why life gives it to me. I've learned to take a hit, take a deep breath, and let that manifest into a controlled, peaceful, inner rage driving me forward into abundance. It's not your pain that determines your life. It's what you do with it. Add fuel to the fire and get the fuck back up. To anyone that's been through any amount of pain ever, that's all you got to do. We all go through it. I know it seems like a lot, but don't you dare allow yourself to get into that victim mentality. You really need to recognize when you start going into the victim mentality, which I think everyone does at a certain stage in their life. Recognize it and say, hell no, I am not a victim. I am a victor. I will be better because of this. And just know full well, you have made it through 100% of the hardest moments of life, which means that you can make it through this too. So left foot, right foot it. It's a reference I make all the time. And what that means is when you're going through a really difficult time, whether it be something as simple as a hard cardio session or it be the worst heartbreak of your life, you look down, you take a left step, and then you take a right step. And you ask yourself, was it really that hard? The answer is probably no. Then do that again. Just left foot, right foot it all the way until you walk forward into the next season. All right, so I have about 10 things that I want to share with you guys. We'll see if we get through all of them. The 10 things that I learned from this experience of moving across the country from Texas to California, my journey here, the good, the bad, and then now leaving. So the number one thing is do it. Do it. The thing that excites you, the thing that scares you, the thing that you might fail at, the thing that you're curious about, do it. You guys, we literally only get one life and we only get today. That's it. There's so many friends of mine that never made it to 35. What if that's you? Do not live your life questioning and wondering, what if I made this big jump? What if I was able to, go on to this next phase of my life? No, go do it. Go and do it. Like step into action and do that thing. When you do it, full send it. Take every single opportunity. Enjoy the ride and don't be so future focused on making it because it'll go faster than you think. The last 7 years have flown by. I really can't believe it. And I'm stoked to leave, but I definitely know there were some moments where I could have slowed down a little bit. I could have breathed in the fresh air a little bit more. I could have been more present. So be as present as you can. Learn from me. Be as present as you can and soak it all in. Do it, fail, and do it again. Chances are, if you're going after something that scares you, it's not going to be easy. You might have small failures along the way, which really aren't failures. They're just lessons learned. But keep pushing through because even if you fail 30 times, what if it's that 31st time when you nail it? Number 2, ride the motherfucking waves. When you make a huge change in life, the waves are going to come. Don't be surprised by them. Simply put, you need to start practicing identifying the chaos of the day. So oftentimes what I'll do is, like, for example, I used to get so stressed out over simple things in life, like a car breaking down or getting a parking ticket or this and that, or which is totally my responsibility if I get a parking ticket. But all these little things that used to stress me out. And what I learned to do in order to go throughout life more in a more peaceful manner is just to go throughout my day. And when something unexpected happens, I just label it. I say, okay, that is today's unexpected thing. That's the chaos of today. And instead, I see it as this like math problem or this equation or this word problem of like, okay, well, how do I navigate this? So my car broke down. Okay, do I have insurance? Who do I call? And I just start taking the necessary steps. I don't allow those things to stress me out. So ride the waves, whether it's something as small or, I mean, your car breaking down is large too. But whether it's that or it's something bigger, like just ride the wave, man. Just be there for it. Like you're there, so be in it and fucking do it. Number 3, you're responsible for the community that you partake in and the community that you create. Choose wisely. Number 3, you are responsible for the community you partake in and the community you create. So choose wisely. You guys know who you hang around is who you become. So really look at your circle and ask yourself if that's where you want to go in life, if that's who you want to become. Your business, your friendship, your relationships, you need to know what are the core values at which these people operate. And remember, a core value is only true for somebody if it's actually active in their life. So make sure that it's active in their life, because operating in integrity is saying, this is who I am, this is how I hold myself accountable, and then your actions actually match that. I think that's a really important point. And you having really strong, focused, driven individuals around you will only further push you up the ladder and further push you. My trainer Doug, he has a saying, I think it's called be the tide. And basically it's saying like, be what pushes everyone around you forward, be that person and surround yourself with other people like that. It's one of the most best ways to create momentum in your life and in the people's lives around you. Number 4, conflict, opposition, and challenge. That is where you get to know exactly who you are. And it's also how you get to know the people around you. So what do you do behind closed doors? What do you do when no one else is watching? What do you do in moments of extreme conflict, of extreme challenge? Because anyone can do things when things are dandy, when things are good, but what happens when things are not going so well? I say that because it will reveal to you what is inside of you. It'll reveal to you what you need to work on, what you need to develop, what you need to focus on. And it will also reveal to you what is inside of other people. My dad actually told me, he's like, how do you know somebody? Apply pressure. Once they're in a pressure situation, you get to see what comes out of them. And what comes out of them in that pressure situation is them at the deepest part of their core. Notice it, but notice it without self-judgment of yourself and also without judgment for others, because the truth is we're all on our own journey. We all have shit, all of us. Not anyone is discluded from that. So don't judge it, but be really conscious to it, especially if it's somebody that you are allowing to take priority in your life or allowing to take a really close spot to you in your life, because you may see things that don't deserve a seat at your table, don't deserve a seat in the top 3 spots in your life. So be really careful in note that. Number 5, very random, dating tip. Stop dating people you don't know. This kind of goes with the tip before. Ask yourself what you want in a relationship. Look at the end goal. Figure out what your vision is for a relationship. Do you want a good boyfriend, a girlfriend, husband, wife? I personally learned that I want my best friend in the entire world, who I'm also crazy in love with, who will be my partner in life. But for me, what I've learned is when you start dating people that you don't know, everyone puts on their dating mask. They put on this facade, and you don't actually really get to know the realest version of themselves. I have been able to cultivate such incredible friendships where I get to know people on a friendship level. And when I do that, I get to see who they are pretty quickly. And it's been awesome. I've developed some really cool friendships from that. But just someone who I'm very observant. I really take notice of things. And I've really noticed that if you'll stop dating people you don't know, then you can kind of save yourself from heartbreak that you don't really need to go through. Because if you just allowed yourself some time to get to know them without anything else getting in between, you would see things that are so clear that you guys don't make a good match, that you guys should just be friends and you should encourage them on their dates with other people. So yeah, just stop dating people you don't know, please. It'll save yourself some trouble. Number 6, family is everything. Absolutely everything. And so when you think about, people ask like, oh, how do you make friends in a new city? How do you develop good business relationships? Think about your family in that way as well. Like, are you putting in the time and the effort to cultivate better relationships within your family? Or are your relationships with your family staying the same that they've always been? I think all of our relationships should grow. So if it's not growing, ask yourself, am I watering that relationship? That could look like you taking time to FaceTime people every single week. You taking time to go and plan a date, a little coffee date with a family member or a mom or a dad or a friend or whatever it is. Don't complain about relationships that you don't have from the investment that you're not putting in. Something that I really wanted to share with you guys that I don't believe I've spoken about yet. It's actually really a huge deal for me, and I wanted to share it because it's been something I've talked about on my show before. But as a lot of you guys know, I've shared a little bit about my past and my mom in particular, my birth mom, and how I didn't have her in my life at all. And I wanted to let you guys know that I actually reached out to her after 11 years of not speaking to her. And I reached out to her and had a phone call with her and opened that line of communication again this past summer, actually. And for me, what led to that decision was, for a lot of you that know my past, some of you may not know, we had a really great childhood, but there was also a lot of mental and physical abuse there, and a lot of that from my mother, who's mentally ill. And then it became so toxic that I had to completely cut ties because it was incredibly toxic to me and to my life. And so that was the right decision for me. I needed to do that. Throughout my own personal development journey, I've worked through a lot of those things. I've healed through a lot of those things. I fully forgave her a very long time ago. And I realized that time was just passing, and there was really no real reason why I couldn't pick up the phone and say, hey, and I really thought about what if my mom died and thought that I was still mad at her? What if I died and my mom thought that I was still mad at her? Those are the things that went through my mind. And I truthfully have nothing left in my heart except just love and acceptance for the fact that she's a human being and she was probably doing the best that she could. And because I felt healed, I felt that it was okay to take that step and to reach out. And we don't talk often at all, but I reached out. We had that initial conversation. And here's the thing. I didn't come back to her needing anything. I don't need anything. I didn't need her to tell me sorry. I didn't need an explanation. I didn't even need to address anything at all. Like, I handled that stuff on my own because my hurt and my healing is my own responsibility. So I healed through that. I reached out. I made that communication, and I really feel really good about it. And it's just something that I wanted to share because I think having some form of like resolution, especially in your most intimate relationships, even though she's not a big part of my life at all right now, I think it's something that's huge. So I wanted to mention that because I understand having to cut out toxic family members, but I do think sometimes there is space for some sort of resolution, even if it doesn't go back to how it was. So I wanted to share that. I feel like maybe that's probably speaking to someone right now. Feel free to DM me. We got to wrap up here in just a minute, but I wanted to quickly go through the last ones that I had. Earlier, I spoke about core values. So number 7 is core values. Identify your core values because this will shape what you do and what you don't do in life. Sometimes you may want to take action that is out of alignment with your core values because it's what you want in the moment. But when you really look at the future of that decision, you'll realize that that's not really where you want to go. So what those core values do, it's kind of like a self-awareness. It kind of just keeps you in check so that you can make sure that you really are going down the path that you want to go in life. Number 8 is vision. You need to know where you're going. It'll keep you on track when things get really rough. And here's the thing. You don't have to know the details of where you're going. We all know we can't plan out our lives. No one would have planned for 2020, but you do need to map out where it is you feel that you're called to, or just some general sense of where you feel that you're going. And what's cool is as you go down this path and this journey, that vision will become so much more clear over time. I've always felt like I knew who I was. I've always had some sort of vision. I've always known that I was supposed to help people, then that I was supposed to, do these different things. And now where that vision, how it's developed, it's something so much cooler. Like I see it so clearly. I'm going back to Texas with such a clear vision for my life, my business, my impact in the world, what I'm meant to do in my family, my relationships. It's cool how it's all tied together, but it's taken years of me working on that. So if you haven't taken time to do that for yourself, work through that, start those beginning steps, or revisit a vision that you have. Check yourself against it. Ask yourself if you still want to go down that path that you set for yourself. When I was younger, I thought that I wanted to be a heart surgeon. And, I think that came from a few different desires. One, I love and I love people. And I feel like I've always wanted to help people. And I think I've always wanted to heal people's hearts. And so I think when I was little, I quite literally wanted to do that. And that vision changed as I got into college and realized I did not want to live the lifestyle of a doctor or a surgeon. And that's okay. But my point for bringing that up is it's okay to change visions. It's okay to grow, to develop, and to go down a different path. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're 18, if you're 45, if you're 73, if your heart's beating and there's air in your lungs, I know for a fact you have a place in this world. You have something that is more for your life. It's up to you whether you go and chase that or not. But I encourage you to do it, because when you do, it's such an exhilarating feeling. It's such an incredible feeling in the world. And I want you to experience that. Number 9, it is important to be aware, informed, educated, but not consumed by worldly events. Politics. I used to not care about politics simply because, honestly, it didn't really affect my life much. And I was such in a hustle grind mode. I felt like I didn't have time to educate myself on these things. But when I asked my family for feedback on how I could improve as a person, one of them, I'm just going to call him out, my brother Daniel, they submitted the information anonymously, but I knew it was him immediately. He was basically giving me feedback saying that I live in my own little bubble. I'm not aware to the world that I need to be. And I knew that he was right. So I started to educate myself a little bit and going down that path. And what I realized is it could be very easy to get really consumed by that, consumed by the politics and the drama. And especially in this day and age, it's ultimately a distraction. So don't get distracted by those things. Be aware, make yourself prepared, but don't get distracted by it, I think, and don't get divided by it either. Right now, more than ever, we see so much division in the world that is being portrayed. I don't actually think that that's reality. So many people, they'll tell me, Emily, you're a light in this really dark world. And I say, thank you for that. But the world's not as dark as you think. The world is as dark as your social media feed. The world is as dark as your news feed, as the news online. So just know that you are in control of that. So be aware, be informed, but don't be consumed by it. And the last one, so we can wrap up the show here, is... I have 2. Okay, well, one is we are only gifted one day at a time. So I've kind of already mentioned that one already. But truthfully, do every single thing that you can today as if it was your only shot, as if it was your last chance, and do it to the best of your ability. If you cultivate that mindset and you actually get to live for 365 more days, a whole year, imagine what you could do. Imagine what you could create, what you could cultivate, what you could be a part of. The possibilities are endless. Treat every single day like it's day one. The last one, love. Love hard. Love everyone around you. Love as many chances as you get. The person that's in line behind you at Starbucks, they might literally be hanging on by a thread. So love, choose love. Love is not always easy. Love often is the harder option. It's hard to love people that are hard to love. So challenge yourself. Anyone can love people that love them back. Will you choose to love the people that are unlovable? Will you choose to express love in really difficult moments? And will you choose to share the love that you have in your heart? People need love. The world needs love. So love. That's going to wrap up today's episode. And the next time that you guys see me, I will be in Texas, hopefully with my podcast studio built out. So again, I want to say thank you. I feel like this is a little bit of a celebration for this whole California season of my life to come to a close. And I can't thank you guys enough for supporting it. So if you've been here all along, I love you guys. Let's freaking go. We're going to crush this year. It's going to be the best year. I am going to be the tide. I'm going to bring up every single person that's around me. So if you're attached to me, if you're listening to this podcast, to my YouTube video, I freaking got you guys. I will bring you with me. So let's go and let's get it. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.